I want to speak to you today about surrender through prayer and surrender of your life to God. I tell you, when you surrender your life to God in prayer, God will take you and use you and do extraordinary things. The Apostle Paul wrote and said, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service of worship. When you come and give your life, your body, your mind, your spirit, your heart, all that you have, you give it to God, God will do extraordinary things. And by the way, that's the way we worship Him, is really when we surrender to Him. And when we talk about prayer, we have to talk about surrender to God. I remember many years ago, during the days of communism in Romania, I was preaching in a town called Galatz, and it was on a cold evening. It was cold like this here, and the place was packed out. The church was filled. The balcony was filled. People were standing outside in cold weather in the snow like this, and yet they had come to hear the gospel. And afterwards, many people gave their hearts to Christ, and some friends of mine and I went out to down by the river, and we walked and we prayed and we talked to God. And my Romanian friend, Dr. Titus Colty, I'll never forget what he prayed. He said, oh Lord, kneeling in the snow, he prayed and said, oh Lord, if it takes the blood of the martyrs to bring my people to Jesus, I want to offer my body, my life as a living sacrifice to you. Well, God took him, and God used him, and not only him, but many others in Romania who had that same kind of commitment. And God sent one of the mightiest revivals of the 20th century. God moved in such a mighty way. He sent a great revival and awakening to the whole country. And people turned to God, and there was a great move and outpouring of God's Spirit. But I believe it was tied to the prayers of men like Dr. Coltia, other men like Dr. Paul Negrutz, and others who were surrendered to God, who said, God, here's my life, I give it to you. And God took their lives, and that surrender to God became a form of worship. And God, when His people began to worship Him in spirit and in truth, opened up the windows of heaven and poured out a blessing that couldn't be held. Oh yes, when we come and surrender ourselves to God, He will do extraordinary things. So spend some time today in prayer and just say, God, I give you my life. I give you my talents. I give you my family. I give you my heart. I give you my mind. I give you my body. I surrender to you, and watch what God will do.